Do you remember when this scene with Luke Skywalker dropped in The Mandalorian? I can tell you one of the big things about this was that every channel that talked about Star Wars, all of the conversations on social media about Star Wars, were all positive again. It's one of the first times that the fan base was kind of reunited in celebrating Star Wars. It was a pretty big accomplishment because it's something that Disney hasn't managed to pull off since maybe The Force Awakens. And I'm not talking about when the movie came out. I'm talking about, leading up to the movie. Leading up to The Force Awakens, there was a lot of excitement because of the old characters coming back and stuff like that. But for the most part, the fan base has been fractured. A lot of people just are not happy with Disney. And over the past couple of months, that's really kind of peaked back up after they got rid of Gina Carano. And then we had the writing Ripley stuff, which is, in my opinion, pretty much corporate-sponsored deplatforming of critics backed by Disney Lucasfilm. So there's been a lot of negativity surrounding them, and I don't know if they're going to get out of it this time. I don't know. The firing of Gina Carano was the biggest thing because it really woke up a lot of normies when it comes to this stuff. A lot of people that aren't even paying attention to Star Wars saw that and were like, WTF. But the damage control for Disney Lucas continues with the, aside from the corporate sponsored deplatforming that they're doing. Check this out. Do you remember a few days ago, a lot of people were talking about the interview that George Lucas and his wife gave to a middle school? Well, that interview is privated, by the way. You can't watch anymore on its official source. And if you go here's Star Wars Theories channel. He was the biggest channel that talked about this. I think he was the first person to talk about what was going on here. So he watched that interview, and if you go right here, go watch the full video linked here, it's privated. Why would that happen? That's a very interesting question, isn't it? What happened during this? In case you don't know, let me go over what was said here. We have it over on Bounding in the Comics. I don't want to play the clip. You can see here also, it's been privated, which is it's crazy to see this. We'll talk about why in a second, but I want to go over what was said. During the interview, the 7th grader Jeremiah asked Lucas around the 50-minute mark, "The world has changed so much since the first Star Wars movie. How do you think the changes in the fight for racial justice will impact the Star Wars universe going forward?" Lucas responded, "I don't know. I mean, I think I kind of lost control of Star Wars, so it's going off in a different path than what I intended." But then added, "But the first 6 Star Wars films are very much mine and my philosophy." And I think that philosophy sort of goes beyond any particular time because it's based on history, it's based on philosophy, it's based on a lot of things. He continued, and then he went on to talk about the movies. The big part about this is he kind of shits on Disney Star Wars a little bit here because he says they're not mine, they're not my vision. They've gone away from what my vision is. They don't sit on Earth politics. He says it right here. The only discrimination is against the robots, and they haven't really reached that period yet where they would rise up against that. It's interesting. There's a lot of stuff to unpack there on how he's trashing Disney Star Wars. But if you want to go watch that interview, it's gone. What's going on with that, huh? Isn't that interesting? Now, was it Disney that made this happen? Or did the school that had this up, because it was a middle school's channel, did they say, "Oh, we don't want this up anymore"? I would imagine that traffic was blowing up for this. I mean, I think that that's a fair assumption. I bet you that I can't say what the original video had in views. I'm sure it was significant. I'm sure there were a lot of comments, people trashing Disney Star Wars, right? People were. People were. However, if you want to ask me what I think happened, Okay, and this, take this with a grain of salt, right? I'm just kind of trying to think about what happened here. I think Disney called up George and said, "Yo, George, what you said, man, it's really making us look bad. I thought we were on the same team here as far as PR-wise. You got $10 billion in stock. We need you to get them to take that video down." And I think George and his wife called up the middle school and said, "Hey, could you please take that video down?" And they did. I don't think Disney called them up. I don't think Disney could do that. I don't think that they have the power to do that. You know, what are they going to do? I mean, I'm sure they could threaten to make life miserable for that middle school, because they probably could in legal battles, even though they wouldn't get anything out of it. It's just the thought of running anybody through the court takes money from you. That's kind of the purpose. Even if it is a lawsuit or whatever, like if you don't have the money for it, it's expensive. Court's expensive. Anybody that, shares custody with a kid can tell you that. It's expensive. But the point here is it would be bad PR for Disney to do that. I think George asked them to private it, and they did. They were accommodating, and they did it. Probably said, "I'm in a world of trouble. Maybe we can do something later. Would you please do this as a favor to me?" And I think they privated this account or this video. Well, why? It's just more damage control for Disney. I do think they went to George and had him do this 100%, because George Lucas, for the most part, don't care, about this video, and saying he said some things before. The biggest thing would be that white slavers comment when he was coming down on Disney, because he was frustrated. He's frustrated with what's going on with Disney. So, yeah, I think Disney contacted him and said, "George, get him to take it down." And they did. Why would they want that? Well, they're doing damage control right now. That's why you see corporate sponsor deplatforming with that Ripley account. They're doing big damage control, because when they fired Gina Carano, that really opened up a big can of worms for them. And the fandom menace is always, always on them. That's why they want to get rid of them. And when they got rid of Gina, they really opened up a problem that I don't think they saw coming. It was a stupid move for what they did. And Disney's no stranger to harassing little blogs and channels. They've been doing it recently right here. Disney Parks blog caught lying about Mona Tiki room retheme after smearing WDW News today. If you don't know who WDW News is, it's an insider at Disney who regularly criticizes them anonymously. So they're willing to do what it takes to preserve their image. And none of this would surprise me if it turned out that they went to George and probably strong-armed him to get them to take that video down. So, pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all of this. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.